Morning, everybody. How are you out there?
Good morning, Steve. We're alive and well.
All right, all right. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it here this morning. We had some traffic issues. I am coming in hot. I am coffeeless. So you guys are going to have to bring the energy today. No coffee over here. Not how I
Ooh.
like to start my morning. Who else?
Oh.
Who else has got a better start to their morning? Who's got something going on? Real estate, non-real estate. What's going on in your world? Who's got something that we can discuss? We can get right into home inspection. I see you, Todd. Margareta, what do you got?
Good morning, all. I've been focusing on decision making and making them faster and quicker. And this was actually Sharon, out of all people, that has said this, that when you're trying to make a decision, if it's not like a critical decision, let's say like you're going to lose a limb, obviously take time to think about it. But if it's something that's reversible, and I love how he put that because, we always talk about decision making, but if it's something reversible that like ultimately you can say, well, I buy this car, but I can sell it, I buy a new car, that sort of thing, then just go for it. Ultimately, because we as humans have this problem with blockage of change. So that will help us ultimately move on and do it. And I've been kind of implementing this and I'm spending money like there's no tomorrow. It's a bit of a problem. But maybe I was really stuck. I don't know. We'll see. Give me a month. But I loved it overall. Just like, and the other thing, what he said, and again, I'm a big procrastinator, so self-named. He said, when you have that critical decision where is kind of no reversibility to it, give yourself a deadline and make that decision by that deadline, and that's it. And I love that because I think that really allows people to just kind of say, okay, that's my best decision to that time frame, and we're done. Just something I'm out there doing.
No, I think this is a great topic. I mean, decision making and how what your framework is, depending on what the decision is, I think is super critical. I think critical thinking is going to be one of the key things here moving forward. Right, with AI doing what it's doing, knowledge is now a commodity. Your accounting degree, or this law degree, or even doctors. It's kind of interesting. The white collar jobs are probably the most in jeopardy here. Some of the jobs that you just thought would never get taken away, I think they're going to get commoditized. Could be just because they've earned what they've earned because of the knowledge that they have. And if you can now ask a question to your app and it's going to give you a better answer, um, than your doctor probably will, with more explanation, with deeper knowledge at that particular subject, um, it's now going to become critical thinking. How do I make decisions? Because I've now got access to all the information, but now it's information overload, and now it's critical thinking. It's thinking through process. It's going to be back to connections, relationships. I think those are the things that are now going to come to the forefront. I think we're going to actually have a little bit more time. Hopefully, build deeper connections. Get back to being the social creatures that we are, and decision making is going to be right at the forefront of what we need to be very, very good at. So, Lauren, I see your hand up.
So we were talking in my house the other evening regarding college, right? I've got a freshman in high school. And so we were talking, just college and hiring employees and things like that, because that's a role that my husband's in where he has to like actually hire people, right? And so we were talking, I was like, well, somebody out of college versus somebody who's been in the field for 6 years, who are you going for? Right. And then we continued that where he said he doesn't look at college for specifically, the paper that you get from college, but for the dedication to completing something and being around a higher number of people who are also like minded in that way, where you set a goal to complete something. There's a lot of tasks required to complete it along the way and a dedication to something, um, more so than the fact of a degree or something like that, because of the knowledge that comes with it. And so I thought that was really interesting, right? Because I very much have a stance on experience and learn by doing, rather than I went and followed, the 5 courses and took the 10 tests. And so now I'm worth more than you are. So I thought it was a really interesting, just open conversation and a different perception to it, because I agree, right? I could pretty much figure anything out with AI or YouTube, even if I've never been trained in it, so much more quickly now.
Yeah, I think, look, the reality is, I think we always say, the journey is what it's really all about. Too often we're setting a goal and we're only looking at the outcome, and we're only looking at, did we hit the goal? And I think the best of the best, the happiest, the most peaceful are really enjoying the journey. And one of the problems that's going to come along with AI is there's no more journey, right? So just because you read the, response on, hey, I'm having this battle with my significant other, what should I say to her or him? And then it gives you this nice response, and you go to your significant other and you deliver that, and they're like, did you get that from ChatGPT? Right? So you didn't really learn what you needed to learn to be a better husband, father, brother, sister, mother, etc. Right? So the journey is really where it's at, and it's going to be interesting. You're going to have the knowledge, but if you haven't been on the journey, whether maybe that's what college is, maybe that's what work experience is. I remember listening to somebody on the hiring process talking about, I'd rather have a CFO whose company went bankrupt than one who's just had a bunch of success. Meaning that CFO will not let those errors happen again, right? Maybe they've just had a smooth ride, another CFO that hasn't had, too many issues. The guy that's gone bankrupt has been through a lot, has learned a lot, has got the bumps, has got the scars. That's the only way you get that is through the journey, right? That's how we as humans learn. Yes, you can read it in a book, right? You can go to Lauren's script calls, but until you do it, until you say it, and until they say no, it's a lot different. Dave, what do you got?
This is John Sheehan. Somehow I got Dave's name. Yeah, so I heard a AI piece this morning, and it said, if you're not spending, 30 minutes a day researching AI and how it applies to your business or associated businesses, you're going to be left behind. So 30 minutes a day sounds pretty easy. And they had an interesting stat. He said within 10 years, unemployment will be up 10 to 15%, primarily white collar, because of AI taking these jobs over.
Whoever wrote that, John, I wouldn't listen to him. I don't know how anybody can sit here today and tell you what the unemployment rate is going to be in 10 to 15 years.
Right.
We have no idea what this is going to do. I think you listen to the people that I'd rather listen to the guy who says, I have no effing idea, right? What I do know is I do know white collar jobs are in jeopardy, right? Does that mean that they're all going to be unemployed? Or are they going to evolve into something different? Are we going to have these assistants? Are they just going to be better? Are they going to have bigger teams? Are they going to be able to do more? Is there another level that we can get to? So who knows where it's going?
That's why they
Yeah.
said spend 30 minutes a day
100%.
so
Yeah.
that you can basically understand how AI is going to function in your company or how you'd like it to function.
Yeah.
So, if you're evolving with your company through AI, then I think that, your company will be sound. But others will be left behind. So
Yeah, there's no doubt if you don't embrace, I think you're going to be in trouble. Maybe some of the trades don't need to embrace, but even there, I think if you're in the trades and there's another guy in the trades and the other guy is utilizing AI in the business, I think they're going to win. Lauren.
right.
So that really kind of just resonated with me because for a long time, didn't use AI, right? And I use it a lot now. Very admittedly, I use it in creating trainings and outlines and just even emails and things like that that I utilize now. But I think several years of not having that tool and having to really like learn and understand the industry allows my use of the tool to be even more efficient now, right? Because when I know I'm not just copying and pasting the first response I get, I'm implementing experience from being in it to help make them better. But it just helps get to results a lot quicker. So I think maybe that's how we're going to see it, right? So you still have the knowledge and the basic understanding of whatever field it is, and then utilizing this technology to help get places quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you're going to have 7 billion people or whatever our population is with full access to high speed internet and all the knowledge in the world. So it's really going to level the playing field, right? So who's going to use it the best? Who's going to study with it, right? I believe that AI can help the upcoming generations to learn faster, better, more at whatever their aptitude is. Instead of just having people just learn about a little bit of everything like we're doing in school now, can you start to realize, hey, this kid is better at these things or has more interest in these things, at least at this chapter of their life. Let's let them go down that path and learn about that. Margareta.
So thanks. Like personally, I just recently got my appraisal training, and it was online, very new thing for me, which was full online. And I'm like, well, am I really learning? Because I'm old school. I graduated in the '90s, and I have to say, as I really got into it, looking at the responses, because it almost felt like an AI to some degree was teaching me. You got something wrong, you would get a response on what is the correct answer. And that actually perpetuated more positivity and more me quicker to absorb the correct information. So I felt actually overall I got information, I learned information quicker than if I had to sit there, listen to a lecture, take notes, rethink it, reread it, blah blah blah. So I really feel like anything with AI now, there is a speed, but there is an experience. And I wonder if the experience will be generated by the speed, it'll be a different one. The other thing, like for example, for trades, my mechanic recently, he bought some other new tool to diagnose cars, which is more AI based, and he's so much better at it now. So those tools, even for trades, are critical. So I feel like whatever AI is doing, it's not going away. The world is going to look so much different in a few years. But one thing, Gary Vee, love Gary Vee, who doesn't, right? He said interesting thing. It will never replace a human. So, we have a bit of this fear. Was it going to be like, are we going to be replaced, But our brains are just so amazing. It will just evolve us. I mean, think about it. Cavemen versus where we are now. I mean, think of that evolution. And imagine us with AI now. Imagine what our brain can do. I think it's amazing and fascinating.
Yeah, and that's the camp that I'm in. I don't think, we get eliminated or anything like that. Yeah. At the end of the day, if those things start to happen, AI defense mechanisms are, kind of growing at the same speed as the offensive, so you'll be able to defend against the cyber attacks or this or that, I think some people might be worried about, because at the end of the day, your assistant, you're going to say, hey, go get me that table reservation for 2 at some nice restaurant near the beach. And it's just going to do it. It's going to book it. It's going to put your credit card in there. It's going to do all of those things. Right. Hey, I need a nice pair of sneakers. You know what I like. You already know my size. Can you get me, the latest hippie, trendy, whatever pair of sneakers, pair of shoes, you won't have to do anything. It'll know you and it'll just go out and do it. Like that's what I think you'll have as an assistant in the not too far future here. Couple of updates for you. Did call MAR Legal yesterday. The response that I received for them about the buyer that wants to submit offers on multiple properties, kind of what we kind of settled on, which is not in good faith. Can't do it unless you disclose. But once you disclose, how likely is it really that that offer is going to get accepted? So pretty much what we had settled on yesterday, but that is the actual take, and they didn't like beat around the bush. Like they were very stern. Like, hey, this is our take on multiple offers from the same buyer. Shouldn't do it unless you're disclosing, and then obviously once you disclose, you've lost a lot of your gumption to get that deal together. Other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I think everybody kind of saw this, but this newly passed tax reform bill, I guess they're calling it the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So just some of the top wins I'm going to read you here from the real estate sector. Let me see if I can get this up on my screen easy. Qualified business income deduction increased from 20 to 23%. This should benefit their calculation 90+% of realtors. So you get basically an extra 3% deduction on your taxes. SALT deduction, so the cap quadrupled to $40,000 for household earnings, as long as you're making under $500,000. That's state and local taxes. That's what SALT stands for. Applies to both single and married couples. Individual tax rates made permanent, so keeps lower income tax brackets and indexes for inflation. Mortgage interest deduction preserved at the current level. And 1031 like-kind exchanges, which we talked about here, no changes but preserved. So I know there were some concerns about people trying to get 1031s removed, get the mortgage interest deduction removed, but those things in this are solidified. So let's see here. A couple of additional real estate friendly provisions. Low income housing tax credit expanded for affordable housing. I don't have any details on it, but the child tax credit increased to $2,500. I think it's what, $1,500 now. Tax advantage child investment accounts are created, and a state tax threshold set at 15 million. I think that's up from like 5 or 10. No increase in the top tax rate. Those are kind of the big things. So, a little bit, I think saving a little bit on taxes is the moral of the story here at the end of the day. Did anybody read anything on this or have any questions on it? See anything in particular, hear anything from your accountant that you think could add some value to the group? Okay. I think John and Todd, if you guys want to take it over. I don't know what you guys might have had on tap today for home inspections.
So we're going to talk about pool and spas today.
Okay.
Todd's going through the process of how we deal with a pool and spa inspection. So I'll turn it over to Todd. Thanks, Todd. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, there we go.
Is that a little better?
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. The biggest thing with pools is safety. When we do a pool inspection, the pool has to be open and running, but there's a couple of key things for safety, which is the primary focus of our inspection, is the barrier system, the fencing around the pool, the alarm systems. Fencing has to be 48 inches high, and the gates have to be, the gate latches have to be 54 inches high. The real focus is to make sure that this pool is safe, that people just can't walk in and use your pool. You should have alarms on the pool, and we make sure that they're there on the house doors. It opens directly to the pool. I always suggest to have a floating alarm in the pool in case the teenagers jump the fence and they're using your pool at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I have to confess is what I used to do as a kid. I don't know if you can do it anymore, but we did.
I want to pause you there. I don't think I've ever seen a pool alarm. Can you just elaborate on that? I don't know how I've missed these, but
So, um, two focuses on the alarm. One is a floating alarm. It's just an alarm that stays in the pool, and if the pool gets wavy, the alarm goes off. So if somebody jumps in, a tree falls in the pool, whatever, the alarm will go off. The other set of
and the
alarms,
idea with these alarms is you would set it for like times a day when you're not using it, or you just basically take it out when you go to use it, or
you take it, it's a self-contained floating unit that you just throw in the pool.
okay,
And if it jostled too much, then it goes off.
okay,
And the other alarm is on the house. So a lot of people have the pool, some people have the pool off the house. So if you open your sliding doors and you're opening to the pool deck, you want an alarm on that, especially for kids, so you know that someone is leaving the house and going onto the pool deck. It's just a matter, just another way of making sure. But unfortunately, um, you're responsible for your pool. So even if somebody jumps the fence, falls in the pool, the law gets really sketchy about who's responsible. Should you have been better with a better fence? Should you have been better with alarms so you knew someone who was in the pool, even though they shouldn't have? Um, so the biggest thing is the barrier, the fencing around the pool to make sure no one can just jump in. I actually had to take a deer out of a pool once, way back when, and that was fun. Um, so the barrier systems, pools are required to have ladders so you can climb out of the deep end. And if there's steps, you need to have a handrail. Diving boards are usually not, most insurance companies don't want you to have a diving board anymore. So on some of the older pools, we just suggest to remove it. It's not worth the hassle. There's all sorts of regulations now about how deep the pool is, how wide it has to be in order to have a diving board. And none of those rules existed 30, 40, 50 years ago when the little diving boards were put in. But again, that's a safety thing. We go through the deck and make sure there isn't any trip hazards around the pool. Um, and the bonding, make sure the motor, we don't check the resistance of the bonding, but we try to make sure the wiring is there. And if it's not, we'll recommend an electrician come out and just make sure everything is bonded to the pool so there's no electrical issues in the pool. But again, our focus is safety, and we don't get into the chemical of the pool, the chemical balance. We make sure the pump is working, make sure the pressure is good, this vacuum, the filter, that sort of thing. But the biggest thing we run into is the barrier system, ladders, pool decks that are heaved and that sort of thing, so people trip. And we just want to make it safe, so we try to explain all this to the home buyer.
you had mentioned, John, we were going to do pool and spa. Anything additional that we want to think about, Todd, on the spa side of things?
So there's two different types of spas. You got the hot tub, right, which is totally separate. And then a lot of the spas in the pool are actually part of the pool. It's just a different area. And if they got a spa, then they got a heater, and it brings in, is the heater working, that sort of thing. But basically, the spa is just another part of the pool, unless it's totally separate, like a hot tub on your deck. And what we're looking for there is, again, safety. Can people get in and out? Is the cover a child-proof cover so somebody can't climb up and fall in? And make sure that it's electrically set. There's a disconnect within 50 feet of the hot tub that's readily accessible. that sort of thing for a hot tub. Again, it's all just safety and to make sure everybody knows what to do in case of an emergency.
Anybody have any questions on pool or spa, or have something come up on a house they sold, a house you're dealing with now? Go ahead, Margareta.
I know, I'm sorry, but I'm curious. So what about like sometimes you see as is, what do you do with those?
I didn't
Like
catch that.
spas.
You're
So
curious.
sometimes like you have a listing that says, it's an older spa or something, whirlpool, outside on a deck or on the yard, but it's functioning. But people say I'm selling it as is. So is there any inspection criteria you still follow for that, or is it just the same stuff?
It's the same inspection. If they're selling it as is, it usually means there's something up. The motor isn't working, the heater isn't working properly. Our focus is the safety and to make sure the electrical, especially for hot tubs, the electrical is set up. A lot of people do it yourself and the electrical isn't proper and it's not grounded right and exposed to the weather, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that part of it is correct. And we just make sure the pump is working, the heat's working. Again, we don't get into the chemical balance. And we try to tell the buyer very gently, pools do not take care of themselves. They do require maintenance and oversight.
Any other thoughts? Any comments, Todd, on those, on the covers? You see those for the in-ground pool, you see the spring-loaded covers. Do you guys check on any of that stuff? I don't know that there would be much to check on an above-ground pool cover.
What you're referring to is the solar covers that you put them on at night to keep the heat in the pool. The loop lock covers, which are the ones you put on during the winter,
Yep.
are there so no one falls in the pool. That's the purpose of them. Matter of fact, you can, if your balance is good, you can actually walk across a loop lock cover and they let the water through and that sort of thing. During the summer, it's the solar covers that usually see people have a big box at the end of the pool and they pull it out like a shade. That's not made to stop people from falling in. It's just a matter of keeping the heat inside the pool. And I don't get involved with opening that because the seller has to know exactly how it works and if it's functioning properly, that sort of thing.
All right. Any other questions, you guys, on pool or spa stuff?
Just a quick one on permits. When people sell them, I'm curious, do you look for permits? I mean, is that critical? I mean, like you mentioned, some people put them themselves, some people have professionally installed. What are your thoughts on that?
So as a home inspector, we don't get involved with the permits that the lawyers purview. We do suggest, and it's in all our reports, that the permits get double checked with the town. Not as much, you want to make sure that the CO for the house and that sort of thing. And we just restate that the lawyer should make sure everything is proper as far as that goes. We'll point out if something is obviously wrong, not built to current standards, that sort of thing, or electrically it's not grounded, or it was put together obviously by a weekend warrior. But as far as the legal permit goes, I leave that to the lawyer.
All right. We are at the hour. So appreciate you guys jumping on this morning. John, Todd, thank you guys so much, as always, for filling our Wednesdays. Go enjoy the middle of the week. Hope you guys are still maybe negotiating a deal or trying to put something together and it comes together for you. And we'll do this again tomorrow morning. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.